Hello. Today is April 29th, 2012. My name is Sabrina Sherman, and I'm here to interview my paternal grandfather, Harry Sherman. Today I'm going to ask him about his experiences in World War II, particularly at Pearl Harbor, and the future consequences of it for the rest of his life. Enjoy. Hi, Grandpa.
Hi.
Okay. Camera, work. Okay. So state your full name, please.
My name is Harry Sherman.
And when were you born?
February 20th, 1927.
Okay, can you talk a little louder?
Okay, February 20th, 1927.
And how have you been recently?
Fair to middling.
Fair to what? Sorry?
Fair to middling.
Fair to Midland. Okay. So you were how old when Pearl Harbor was attacked?
I was 14, almost 15 years old.
Okay. And can you tell me about what happened?
Well, to the best of my ability, and as you have to remember that this was 60 years ago.
Right.
But I think I remember about 99% of it. And if I am off a little bit, I do not want to be condemned.
Don't worry. This interview is more about how you remember it
Okay.
than an actual history lesson. Don't worry.
Okay. We lived, well, at that time it was called Kaimaki. They have changed the name now. And we lived just, Diamond Head was to the left of us. And we lived up high overlooking the bay where we could see the ships coming in and out. And it was early in the morning, and my brother had a chief warrant officer staying overnight. He was stationed at Pearl. And we first found out about it when we got a phone call for him to return immediately to the ship that we were being bombed. So we ran to the...
Which ship was he working on?
I'm not sure of the name, to tell you the truth. And so we rushed to the windows and looked out, and we saw the Japanese planes coming in past Diamond Head. Mm-hmm. And then we heard bombing and what have you. And my sister, who lived in the ways from us, my mother wanted us to go pick her up and bring her over the house. So my brother and I went over there. And on the way, if you never appreciated signals before, you would appreciate it now, because no one paid attention to them. And everybody was smashing into each other in cars, and a bomb or something dropped behind us, and our car went up off the ground and came back down again.
Do you know where you were around that point?
I think we're someplace heading towards 4th Street downtown. I'm not sure of the location.
Okay.
And meanwhile, we got my sister, we brought her back to the house. And the first part, that's all we were doing is sitting and waiting and watching what we could see going outside and hearing bombs dropping. And then the worst part is the first 3 or 4 days, because at night we had no radio, we couldn't use the telephones, we had allowed no lights on at all. Mm-hmm. So we walked around, you stepped on each other's toes and bumped into each other, so we'd all go to sleep. We would go to bed anyway.
How long were the lights out and the quiet for?
About 2 days or 3 days. And then the lights in the city was out for a long time. Mm-hmm. But when houses, we blacked out the houses and put in double curtains and double entrance on the doorway, so when we opened the door, the light couldn't go out. And things sort of settled down after that. And my brother-in-law, who happened to be working at Pearl Harbor that day, he was a mechanic. He told us a story that what happened to him is that the ship, they didn't have any guns or anything, and he went over to get some guns out, and the guy said he would not open up, he didn't have permission. So they told him he better open up or they'll blow him away or something, I don't know.
Was this just a regular person?
Regular guard at the ammunition entrance. Mm-hmm. So one of them had a .45, and he took it and blew the lock off. and everybody just pushed them aside and got guns because the planes were flying so low you could see the pilots, and you can shoot them with a rifle. And they hit a few of them, but they didn't knock any down that I know
And this is just over the regular town?
of. This was over the town in Pearl Harbor.
Was this December 7th or a different day?
This was December 7th, the day of the bombing, the day they attacked Pearl Harbor. And all the ships were in the harbor, and which they never had them there before. And we were on alert for 2 weeks before, a war alert. And we had the dawn patrol going over our heads every morning, early in the morning. That morning we had no patrol. The night before, everybody had leave but skeleton crews. They were all partying, and half of them were drunk and what have you. And my belief is that there was some kind of a sellout, that they wanted us to get into this war. Because
Who's they?
they meaning somebody in the president's staff or the president, I don't know. I have no right to condemn anybody because I don't know who it was. But there was some kind of a sellout. At least we believe this. We have no proof for it being so.
What did they say when they put everyone on war alert the 2 weeks before?
Nothing. They just said they're having conference with the Japanese, and they're putting everybody on alert just to make sure. Period. But everybody pretty much went their own way. Nobody even thought about it one way or the other until the day of the bombing.
Do you remember how many ships you could see and how many planes you saw from where you
Wow.
were?
Ships, where I lived, I couldn't see the ships. They were all at Pearl.
How
But
far away did you live?
Oh, God, maybe 25 miles away. And,
South?
you know,
North?
up towards Pearl. I don't know if it's north or south at this time. I can't remember. But we lived near Diamond Head.
Okay.
So we were a ways from Pearl. But they happened, the ships, the planes happened to come right by where we were over the bay. At least a couple squadrons did. And I couldn't count them, but there were loads of them. There's a couple squadrons as far as I can see.
So tens, hundreds, would you guess?
No, I would say maybe 25, 35, something like that. I could be shorter over, I'm not sure. Because at the time we weren't there counting planes.
How so you could see the Japanese in the planes, but how close were they? Like, could you see their faces? Could you?
Oh yeah. Well, when we were in the car going, they were coming down. We could see their faces. We could see them. Well, you know, with their hoods on and glasses, I couldn't pull them out in a interview or
Right,
anything.
but
we could see the pilots. We could see them in the plane. Period.
do you remember? Do you remember how they looked? Were they like smiling, serious? Were they?
No, I couldn't say that. It's hard when they're wearing their glasses and helmets, whether they have what the look on their face. We just saw the pilots, period.
Okay. So you said you left downtown that day. You were driving downtown.
Yes. We just went through there to pick up my sister who lived in the other end.
And then you went back to the house.
And back to the house because we were not allowed. Everybody had orders. Do not leave your homes. Do not go outside. That was the only order we got on the radios.
And how long? That was for 2 days?
Oh, yeah. Well, for at least 2 days, we weren't allowed outside, except the ones that had to go to work or had certain businesses to take care of that was vital.
Was your brother one of those?
My brother, no, I think he was called out to help at Pearl. I'm not sure now. I think my one brother that was living with us was called out to help at Pearl, but I can't, I'm not sure.
Okay. So how many of you were living in your house? Your mother, your sister?
My mother and father, my sister, brother, and I. One brother.
And where were the other four siblings you had?
My other brothers, they lived off of, they called it something square. Lived about maybe 5 miles or 7 miles away.
Okay. And how long were the once you were allowed to have the lights on in your home but blacked out, how long was the blackout for?
Maybe 2 or 3 days. And then it was how fast we could black out our own places. Because they didn't do it, we had to have it. Then we had to have it verified.
So
Okay.
how long were your houses blacked out for?
About at least 3 days, maybe more.
That you did yourself, those?
Yeah, we blacked them out. Then it was all during the war. The houses were blacked out.
The entire war?
Entire war. At least as long as we were there. Because anybody that did not have an essential business had to leave the islands. So we left in July of 42.
And where did you move to?
We moved to Los Angeles. We came back on the Queen Elizabeth.
The second or the first?
No, the Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay.
And there was 19 ships in our convoy, and took us about 19 to 22 days to get here. We were zigzagging all over.
And you lived in LA till about 10 years ago, right?
We lived in the same house for 50 years, and we came back up here in about 1999.
Seems like so long ago.
Because of our little grandchildren.
Love you too, Grandpa. So, have you been back to where you lived or to Pearl Harbor since then?
Yes, I've been there twice. I wouldn't recognize it.
It's totally different.
Totally different. Where the Royal Hawaiian is now, there was nothing else on the beach but it.
Where the what was?
Nothing else on the beach but the Royal Hawaiian.
Oh, the Royal Hawaiian.
And now you can't find it because it's all surrounded with high-rise and buildings. And where I lived, it's gone. There's maybe a 22-story building there. I went back to the school I went to, Robert Louis Stevenson's.
When was this that you went back?
Last year, I think it was. Last year or the year before. And it's still there. The school's still there. But everything around it has changed. And they changed the name from, it was Kailua, or no, whatever it was, it changed the name now to something. Everything's changed. It's like the rest of the world. It's all jammed up.
And did you said, so you went last year. Did you go before that?
Yes, once before.
Do you remember when?
Well, I'd say about maybe 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago. My son, who was asked to go over there, they had an energy problem. It was maybe even 15 years ago. It was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember him going to Hawaii.
Well, anyway, maybe about 19 years ago, the first time I went back after that. And my son was over there, and he had to be there for 2 weeks because he had an energy problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the Navy called him over to find out what they could do about it. So he got a place on the beach there, and we went over there for a week with him.
Would you say it looks more like it does now or more like it did then?
Oh, no, it wasn't. It's worse now. It wasn't quite as jammed up as it is now 20 years ago.
Would you say the way it looks different is because of the war or just because, the world is advancing? And
it's because the world's advancing and there's more industry. When I first came over there in 32, if one person gave a party, anybody walking by was invited. And nothing was on the beach except the Royal Hawaiian Nuana. It was all white sand. And you weren't even allowed a hot dog stand on the beach.
had to be perfectly...
Absolutely.
Okay. So, when you were there, what was life like before the attack?
Well, it was fantastic. We went to school with no shoes on.
Nice.
And the kids today wouldn't like it because discipline was really bad.
Did they hit you with rulers?
Well, no, worse than that. I was always in trouble when I was younger because I was always making too much noise.
Wisecrack.
And the first time I went up there, I forgot what I did, but I remember getting paddled with a paddle, about 10 smacks on my rear end, or 15. And I came home and told my father, and I got punished again.
For telling him what you did or for complaining that you got punished?
For doing it to begin with. So they had discipline, but I guaranteed after that, when they said sit, I sat. And on our way home from school, our parents never had to ask if we were hungry, because we'd pick avocados off the trees and mangoes, and we'd climb up and get coconuts and peel them and eat them green with a spoon, and bananas all over the place.
That's why you like coconut milk so much.
Oh yeah. There's just fruit and everything all over. Take sugar cane and cut it open and eat it. So it was wonderful, but I wouldn't like to live there now.
Can you, from where you lived, how much could you see down to Pearl Harbor? Was it flat? Were you on a hill? Could you
No,
see?
we were up on top of a hill, but we couldn't see Pearl Harbor at all.
Okay.
Because we were too close on the Diamond Hood, and then Pearl Harbor was on the opposite end.
When the day it was attacked, could you see the planes at Pearl Harbor, or could you only see the planes that flew into town?
No, we see the planes flew in. We could hear the bombing and the machine gunning and
down at Pearl Harbor.
The rumors going, all. And then my brother-in-law, who was there, told us a lot that was going on. But we didn't see him for a couple of days, but when we did see him.
And the chief of the Army Navy was staying at your house?
No, just a chief. He was a chief petty officer.
Okay.
And he was a friend of my brother's, and he was staying in our.
And your brother was in the Navy?
No, he wasn't in the Navy.
Okay.
None of us were in the service then.
Not yet.
But he's the brother that joined the Navy, and it's been quite a few years, months in the sea.
Okay, and you said you were 15 when?
Well, I was not quite 15 when it was bombed.
Okay.
Because it was bombed on December 9th.
So you've told me before that you had Japanese friends at where you lived, right? Neighbors, friends.
I guess I did. I guess I had them in school and stuff. I don't remember. I didn't think about it one way or the other, so it wasn't something that was implanted in my mind.
Okay, so you would say that to you they were just like regular, every other people.
Absolutely. They even in this whole war, they were just like our soldiers were trained and to do certain things. They were. You couldn't condemn the average military person at this point, but they're leaders and they're ones that made them do what they did.
So you don't. So in general, what are your feelings towards the Japanese?
Right now, I have no bad feelings at all towards the Japanese. I mean, I wasn't happy with what they did, and at that time, I was ready to go and kill as many as I could because what they did to us. But as the years went by and everything else, I figured there's a whole new generation. They don't know anything about that.
So during the war, which one would best describe your feelings? Was you wanted to kill them or as revenge, or you didn't blame them, or?
Well, both. I wanted to kill them, but I more so wanted to kill the Germans and see every one of them dead. But as far as killing them, I just wanted to get even for what they did, period. I think that's the way most of the younger generation felt at the time.
So, in recent days, there's a lot of controversy about using the word Japs. Did you see it as a negative name, or was it just a nickname, or how did you see using the term Japs?
Well, I think at the time it was just a terminology that people picked up. It's just like in our religions.
Like a slang?
Yeah, like in our religions, they call us Jews. And it's a slang that they picked up to be like a dirty word or something. And at that time, I think they used them without thinking absolutely why. Because somebody else was using it, they were using it. At least at the time, that's the only reason I used it. Because when they were talking to me, that's what they kept saying.
Did you see it as a negative word or just a regular nickname?
A regular word. I didn't see anything negative about it. Maybe if I thought, maybe like now you're talking to me, I guess it was a negative word. But at that time, I didn't think it was a negative word. Because when people are talking to me, those Japs did this, so I'd say, well, yeah, I remember those Japs did this and that. But I didn't start the word, and I didn't bring it up like saying, "Oh, you son of a bee," or this or that. You know, it's just the terminology people are using.
So I know today you still use Japs instead of Japanese when you're not thinking about it.
But I don't think I use the word very often at all because I have no reason to.
Well, I don't think we bring up Japanese very often, but
No.
I have you noticed that you use it? Because I've noticed that whenever I bring it up, you always say Japs, and then you tend to correct yourself.
Well, because my wife is the one that tells me I say it, because I don't recall you. It's something I guess you get in your head, and without thinking, sometimes you use it.
Like Jews.
You know, well, like right now, I used to say the colored people.
Hmm.
And for years, that's the way I said it, not to mean anything against them, because I have a lot of my friends are. But now that they want to be called black, I try to use it. But sometimes I still say, "Oh yeah, the colored person he's a pretty nice guy. I liked him," but I don't mean it with any negatives.
And when you're talking to Japanese people, have they ever gotten offended if you accidentally say Japs?
I don't think I talk to them and say Japs. I don't think I say anything. I mean, why would I have to use the word?
You were telling me a story of when you were talking to someone that was Japanese, and you were talking about the war, and you said it.
Maybe I said to you, but when I'm talking to the person, I have no reason to say, "Hey, Jap," or what? You know what I
No,
mean?
not like that. I remember a couple months ago you were telling me a story. You were talking to your Japanese friends, and you were telling about the war, and you said, "Oh, those Japs," in reference to the war. Did they get offended?
No, I didn't tell you that. Your grandma did. I didn't even realize I did say it. I was talking to her. I said, "Well, when we were there, the Japs did this or that," but I didn't. I wasn't just talking. It just came up in the
Right.
conversation.
No, right, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't even know I did it. To tell you the truth.
Okay. So, looking back at the day of the attack, how did it influence you and affect you?
Well, you mean for that day or for my future?
Both.
But that day, if you excuse it, it scared the you know what out of me. And I'd say I had diarrhea for 2 days. But
Did you really?
yeah, I mean, especially when the bomb went off behind my brother's car.
How
I
close
mean,
was it?
Well, his car went about a foot off the ground,
geez.
so it was close. I think it was a bomb. Something went off.
Something went off.
And that car went up in the air. But we were all scared because the rumors were going around. The people that come out of the houses talking, they heard this and that. And then we heard that the Filipinos were cutting the heads off of the Japanese in the sugarcane fields. I don't know the truth or not of it, but that's what we heard.
Right.